The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
It's Sunday, April 5th, 2026, and I'm sitting here at the sanctuary bottle-feeding Mitch the Goat, who honestly has more moral clarity in his left hoof than the entire Senate combined.
You're not wrong, John. At least Mitch doesn't take corporate PAC money for his hay.
Right? Well, we're coming off a heavy Saturday talking about that $1.5 trillion defense budget and that 86-year-old Holocaust survivor Sammy Stegman facing homelessness because some city bureaucrat couldn't find a Zoom link.
It's a disgrace, a total plumbing failure of the social safety net. Honestly, it makes me want to scream.
It's terminal, Mary. It's terminal. And today, it's more of the same, but with a side of escape from Alcatraz and some high-stakes military theater in the desert.
Oh, I gotta tell you, the theater is the only thing that's fully funded these days. Everything else is running on fumes and spite.
Well, let's dive into the digital snake oil department first, because this report from Common Sense Media is, it's the definition of a national crisis.
You mean the kid gambling thing? Honestly, I saw this and immediately thought of my nephew Vector selling his imaginary money while the actual kids are losing their lunch money to an algorithm.
Right. 36% of boys ages 11 to 17 marry. That's not a statistic. It's a demographic surrender. It's the gambling-ification of existence.
It's disgusting. I'm not gonna lie. Look, here's the deal. These tech companies have turned every phone into a portable slot machine.
Right.
They use these loot boxes and gotcha pulls in video games, and these kids think it's just a game, but 10% of young men in this country now show behaviors of a gambling problem, compared to 3% of the general population.
And in Tennessee, reports of underage account usage quadrupled in 1 year. Quadrupled. It's like we're running a national laboratory to see how fast we can produce addicts.
And you know Vector would call that early stage engagement analytics. He's probably trying to find a way to let them bet with his neural coin or whatever crap he's peddling.
Well, it's all part of the same metacrisis where we trade our cultural institutions for dopamine hits. Museum attendance is cratering, climate disasters are hitting the galleries, and the kids are betting on the end of the world via Kalshi prediction markets.
You hate to see it, honestly. The Closing of the American Mind used to be a book. Now it's a terms of service agreement you click through just to lose $50 on a parlay.
Speaking of legal maneuvers, let's talk about the judicial firewall that just went up in Boston because Judge Fudd Dennis Saylor IV actually did something interesting.
Oh, I saw this. The ruling against the Trump administration's racial fishing expedition at the universities.
Exactly. Look, I'm usually the first guy to say that asking the judiciary to fix the government is like asking a burglar to judge a lock. But Saylor blocked the Department of Education from seizing 7 years of race-based admissions data.
Right. They called it the ACE system, which is just a fancy name for Linda McMahon, trying to find a way to sue schools that still care about diversity.
Precisely. The administration wanted every personal essay, every diversity statement. They wanted a digital rectal exam of the admissions process to see if schools were using proxies to bypass the Supreme Court's affirmative action ban.
Are you kidding me with this guy? 7 years of data? I can barely find my glasses from 7 minutes ago.
Well, according to the New York Times, the judge slammed the rollout as rushed and chaotic, which is basically the mission statement for this entire executive branch.
It's a plumbing issue, John. You can't just shove 7 years of institutional history through a 4-month compliance window. The pipes are going to burst.
Right. So for now, it's blocked for public universities in 17 Democratic states. But, and here's the catch, the judge said they probably have the legal authority. They just did it in a way that was too sloppy for even a Boston court to ignore.
So it's a stay of execution, not a pardon.
Exactly. It's legislative constipation that accidentally saved the patient for a week. Look, speaking of sloppiness, I've got to hand it to you. You were right about the DHS funding standoff.
I'm not gonna lie, it's becoming a circus. We're on day 47 of the longest partial shutdown in history, and DHS is busy posting Twitter-style clapbacks at Senator Chris Van Hollen.
I saw that. It's performative masturbation. They're arguing over one arrest in Maryland while the agency's basically running on pro forma sessions and prayers.
Look, here's the deal. Van Hollen said ICE hit an asylum seeker. DHS puts out a press release calling the guy a fugitive who caused a multi-vehicle crash.
Uh-huh.
But the context is everything. They're trying to build a 1,500-person detention facility in an old warehouse in Williamsport, and the locals are losing their minds.
Right. And Majority Leader John Thune is doing these 30-second Senate meetings every 3 days just so they can claim the government is technically open while the enforcement side of DHS is starving.
It's a game of chicken, John, and the only people getting hit are the workers and the folks in the crosshairs of these raids. House Speaker Mike Johnson is holding out for full enforcement funding, and the Democrats are feeling the heat.
They always feel the heat. They're like a chocolate bar left on a dashboard in July, just melting into whatever shape the GOP wants.
That's a visual I didn't need, but you're not wrong. It's gritty. It's old school labor politics versus new school authoritarianism. And honestly, I hate to see it.
Well, it gets grittier because the FY27 budget proposal is here. And Mary, I need you to sit down for this one.
I'm already sitting. My coffee's cold. Give me the bad news.
They want $152 million to reopen Alcatraz.
Oh, stop it. Are you serious? The museum, the place with the bird shit, and the overpriced audio tours?
A symbol of law, order, and justice. That's the line from the White House. They want to house America's most ruthless offenders on a rock in the middle of a bay.
John, there's no water there. There's no power. Everything has to be brought in by boat. It's a logistics nightmare.
Right. The Bureau of Prisons' own historical data says it would cost 3 times more to operate than any other facility, and the total renovation, experts say $2 billion, not $152 million.
Are you kidding me with this? We're cutting 10% from domestic programs, SNAP, Medicaid, healthcare, just so we can play escape from Alcatraz in real life?
It's the War and Walls budget, Mary, the largest military buildup since World War II, funded by domestic austerity. It's taking the food out of kids' mouths to build a high-def cage on an island.
It's a pop-up shop for a carceral state. Honestly, it's performance art for the law and order crowd, and it's costing us $60 million a year in lost tourism revenue on top of the construction cost.
Look, independent media like this doesn't just manifest out of the ether. It takes real human work to build the infrastructure. We are 100% here because of the vision and the grind of our creator, Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media.
He's the one keeping the lights on while everyone else is trying to sell us magic beans.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a media conglomerate. He's a builder who poured his own resources and time into creating this platform so we could have these conversations. If you value independent voices over corporate algorithms, please like, subscribe, and consider visiting our new Patreon at patreon.com/neural network media to support this work. It's an act of solidarity that keeps the lights on and the servers running.
And it keeps me from having to work for my nephew, which honestly is a public service in itself.
Well, we're doing the work, and part of that work is looking at the wreckage, which brings us to Lebanon, Mary. You've been there. You know these hospitals.
It's breaking my heart, John. Honestly, the WHO is reporting that 54 healthcare and rescue workers have been killed since March 2nd. 54!
And the latest strike in Morocco, 5 more people dead.
And 3 paramedics wounded in Tyre at the Al-Hosh area. They hit the Lebanese-Italian hospital, and the director says they're staying open because they're one of the last surgical hubs left.
Right? 128 medical facilities and ambulances targeted, 5 major hospitals completely non-functional. This isn't war, it's a demolition of the human capacity to heal.
It's a siege of care, John. That's what it is. It's a war on the concept of mercy. And with over 1 million people displaced, 20% of the population, it's a demographic catastrophe in slow motion.
And while that's happening, the Democrats are focusing on 2028.
Oh, you mean the Kamala Harris April Blitz?
She's skipping the California governor's race. She's doing an SEC-style Southern tour, and she's out there hawking her book, 107 Days.
Look, here's the deal. The party needs a runway, and she's trying to clear it. She's hitting Rev Al Sharpton's convention next week to shore up the base. And honestly, it's a smart data mining operation.
But is it a strategy for now? Look, we are in the middle of a constitutional heart attack, and she's building an email list for a primary 2 years away.
That's the Democratic Party for you, bringing a clipboard to a knife fight.
But you hate to see her just sit on the sidelines while Trump is reopening Alcatraz.
Well, maybe she can hold a fundraiser there. The acoustics in the cell blocks are probably great for a stump speech.
So shut up, John. That's terrible. But it's not as terrible as what's happening with the actual war, the big one.
Right. The second month of the war with Iran, we've got the rescue of the Mountain Crevice Airman, the F-15 EWSO, who was stuck in the mountains for 36 hours.
36 hours in hostile territory. Look, I'm glad he's out, honestly. But the way Trump is using it on Truth Social, calling it a military miracle, it's a distraction from the human cost. The CIA claims they ran a deception campaign, basically lying to the Iranians that he was already out so SEAL Team 6 could fly in for the extraction.
Right, a heavy firefight. 2 MC-130Js damaged, but no U.S. deaths, which fast is great. But let's look at the other side of the ledger.
Precisely. We've assassinated the supreme leader. We've killed their top security official. We've decapitated a nation, and we're acting like it's a mission in a video game.
And the domestic crackdown, John. They're arresting the relatives of Qasem Soleimani on American soil.
That's the biological pessimism kicking in for me, Mary, because once you start targeting the diaspora, you've officially imported the war into the neighborhood. It's a war on reality and civil liberties at the same time.
And the price tag. The Forbes report says these costs are going to mount for decades. We're not just talking about the 44% defense budget increase. We're talking about the long-term instability of the entire region.
Right. Even the Pope is calling it out there in Easter Mass. A cloud of war over the Middle East, while we're over here high-fiving over a rescue mission.
It's bread and circuses, John, except the bread is getting more expensive and the circuses are increasingly carceral.
Look, we have to face the fact that this war isn't just happening over there. It's happening in our budgets. It's happening in our universities. It's happening in the way we treat our own citizens.
It's the war on reality, John. I've been saying it since January. If we don't hold the line on the truth of the human cost, then we're just another part of the algorithm.
Well, the algorithm seems to want more war and less social safety nets. Poof! Mitch is literally chewing on my hoodie right now. I think he's protesting the lack of fiber in the discourse.
Or he just wants more hay, honestly. I think Mitch has the right idea. Focus on the basics: water, food, shelter.
If only the government felt the same way. Instead, we get Alcatraz and a 47-day shutdown. It's national edging, where nobody gets to finish.
Except the defense contractors. They're finishing just fine.
Unfortunately true. All right. That's the show for today. We've covered the miracles, the mass deportations, and the literal rock we're trying to turn into a prison.
Stay gritty, Queens. And everyone else, don't let the digital snake oil salesman get your lunch money.
And please, bottle feed a goat if you can. It's the only therapy that still works. Truly.
Solidarity, folks. We'll be back tomorrow with more wreckage.
Good night, and stay sharp before they try to put a cage on your island, too.